guys, Abby here and welcome back to my channel Inspired to Health, and today I'm talking to you about picky eaters because picky eaters make us feel like we're crazy. And so today I want to share with you 10 simple things that you can do that will help encourage your child to eat more of the foods that you offer. So let's get started. Here is tip number 1. Tip number 1 is to not force it. Even though that sounds counterproductive, you want to get them to eat the foods, but forcing them is actually going to make it harder for you in the long run. By forcing them to try and eat foods that they're not really interested in yet is going to just start creating negative associations with that food. And you want to avoid that. You want to make it as neutral as possible. Don't make a big fuss over it when they don't eat it, but do make a big fuss over when they do eat it. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to not offer any snacks or drinks like milk or juice after an unfinished meal. I know that sounds really difficult and you probably feel like they're gonna starve, but I promise you they will not starve and you're gonna make it through. You just have to hold to your guns and do this, because by offering them milk or juice or a snack after an unfinished meal, you're reinforcing the fact that they don't need to eat what you offered to them in the first place. So instead of offering those things, what you can do is if they're hungry after a meal, you can reintroduce the food to them again. At least wait an hour for any snacks, milk, or juice after an unfinished meal. And if they're thirsty after an unfinished meal, that's fine. You don't want to deprive them of something to drink, but just give them water. I promise you it's going to make your job easier in the long run to stick to your guns on this one. Tip number 3 is to make it fun. And this one can be a little bit difficult, especially if you had a stressful day, maybe at work or at home with other children. But I promise you that a little bit will go a really long way. The more you can create a positive environment around your dinner table, the more likely your child is to maybe try those foods that they once were reluctant to try. And you can try things like singing songs, come up with some creative games to play to get them to take bites of food, making funny faces, things like letting them name the food. Those types of things make the dinner table a fun place, and at the very least, it's going to help later down the road. Tip number 4 is to eat the same foods that they eat. It's very simple. As long as you can manage to eat what they eat, which is good practice for us as well, it's going to help encourage them to eat those foods too. Tip number 5, try using dips or sauces. It worked for us pretty well when I had some veggies sitting out on the table and some ranch dip, and I was eating them, and my son saw me and he just wanted to try it, and he thought it was the most fun thing ever to dip his food in. He's been eating snap peas ever since and broccoli ever since. He also started eating carrots that way. He hasn't had them in a while and he's going through a little picky phase with carrots right now, but we just keep reintroducing them, and hopefully someday soon he'll eat carrots again. But that worked really well for us, and maybe it will work well for you as well. Tip number 6 is to go grocery shopping together. The idea here is that the more the children see, touch, smell the foods, the more likely they are to taste the foods. So that's something you definitely want to give a try. I know it's a little bit difficult sometimes, especially with younger children, but take them to the grocery store, let them take a look at the produce, especially the things that you are maybe planning on adding into your menu for that week, and maybe even give them an option. Hold out in front of them a bag of snap peas or broccoli and ask them which one they would like to try. That might be something that will prove to be helpful for you. Tip number 7 is to cook together. Again, this could be a little bit difficult depending on the age of your child, but it's definitely possible to just bring them into the kitchen for a short time, let them stir something, let them set the table, let them sprinkle a few herbs or spices on top of something, pre-measured out obviously, and that will give them a sense of control over what they're eating, and it's going to make it fun for them and interesting, and they have played a part in getting it to the table. They also saw it before it came to the table, so it's not like it's a surprise to them what is going to go onto the table and what they're going to be eating for dinner that night. Tip number 8 is to reintroduce the foods many times. Be prepared to have them rejected, maybe even have them thrown on the floor. It takes up to 20 times sometimes for children to even consider trying a new food. So expect to have it rejected, and don't get too discouraged when it is rejected. Just keep reintroducing it very casually, maybe not every single day, but every other day or something like that, and that will help to get them more acquainted slowly but surely with the foods that you're hoping for them to eat. Tip number 9 is to give them options, and what I mean by this is not every option available, but you choose what their options are. So you can put on their plate maybe 3 different foods that you know that they will don't like and one food that maybe you want them to try. So maybe they have some rice, some chicken, some peas, and you could maybe add in some apple slices or broccoli or whatever the food is that you're hoping they will try. Add that into the mix, and that way you know that they're going to eat something on their plate, but then there's maybe one food you're hoping that they'll at least taste, and it's there and it's available to them. Last but not least is number 10, which is to let them fill their own plate. Serve the food family style, and when the food comes to the table, give them a nice big spoon and help them to fill their own plate, or let them do it themselves if they're old enough. That's going to also empower them and give them a sense of control over what they're eating. They feel like they played a part in getting it to their plate. It's not just being handed to them, and that might make them feel a little bit less apprehensive about trying some of those new foods. And there you have it. 10 simple things that you can do to help encourage your child to eat the foods that you're offering to them. Like I said, guys, it might not work overnight, but in the long run, you will be thankful that you put in the time and the effort. So I encourage you to keep on moving forward. I'm sure you're doing a great job. If you found these tips helpful, please share them with a friend. Hit the like button and be sure to subscribe, because I will have more videos like this coming up in the future. Especially for picky eaters, I'm planning on doing 1 to 2 more videos, so be on the lookout for part 2 or 3 of this series. And until next time, be well, and I'll see you then. Bye.